Coffee Hour. Welcome to Coffee with our morning host. We broadcast a host of programs like current topics, newspaper headlines, and music on Radio Sri Lanka. Tune in every weekday from 7 to 8 a.m.
And that's exactly what we are going to go on with just now, Coffee Hour. And this morning on Coffee Hour, we're going to ponder on the way and the place that you and I live in and breathe, our environment. Well, though often taken for granted, our environment is our lifeline. Our guest on Coffee Hour this morning is Mr. Supun Pathirage, the Chairman of the Central Environmental Authority. A very good morning to you, Mr. Pathirage, and a warm welcome to the program.
Good morning.
And thank you very much for joining us, even though the weather is quite, wet outside. And talking of World Environment Day, which was celebrated not very long ago on the 5th of June, what is the significance of World Environment Day?
Yeah, actually, before coming to the significance, we have to understand why the World Environment Day occurs and how it began. So, United Nations General Assembly in 1972, they have to declare an Environment Day. That is because just before 1972, we had two world wars, and there are several industrial revolutions in the Europe and the other major continent. And based on that, they felt a severe pollution in their cities, especially with their pollution. Based on that, they have declared International Environment Day that was declared on 1972 and celebrated the first time on 1973 throughout the world, mainly focusing upcoming challenge or whatever the challenge facing in the environment throughout this year period.
And what was the theme for this year, Mr. Pathirage?
Yeah, actually this time in 2023, we are celebrating the 50th World Environment Celebration in the world. But sorry to say, but we are going far and far away from the environment. And this time, the topic is Beat to Plastic Pollution.
Right. And talking of environmental challenges, they are very persistent, not only in the world, but in Sri Lanka as well. So talking of the global arena, what are the main challenges, environmental challenges that the world is currently facing?
That's a very much challenging question, actually. Right. But for summarizing the things, I should share the globe. The globe is facing three planetary crises. We call it environmental planetary crisis or planetary environmental crisis. So either way, so it is, first thing is climate change.
Right.
Even for a country like Sri Lanka, even though we are very small in the world map, but still we are facing the climate change. Right. Then the pollution of land, water and air. So I don't want to explain much about that, because everywhere we can see pollution with the general public as well as the industries. So I want to highlight not only the industries, but also the general public do much more pollution sometimes than the industries. And the third one is ecosystem loss or the biodiversity loss, which I can conclude like that. So with the human activities, we are going for so many man-made constructions, man-made so-called developments, and finally end up with the biodiversity loss, especially a country like Sri Lanka, because we are one of the 36 hotspot in the world. Sri Lanka, along with the South India, we have the highest number of endemism in South Asian region, as well as highest threat to this endemism is also there. That is why we call this as a biodiversity hotspot in Sri Lanka. So the major three problems in the world are climate change, pollution to air, water and land, and the other thing is biodiversity loss or the ecosystem degradation. Either way, so I want to tell those three things are not individual causes, all are interconnected. What are the causes for the climate change? Samely affect for the biodiversity loss, also for the pollution. So those are not individual processes. So everything is like circles. Right, what we learnt in our grade 6 or 7, we had so many carbon circles, hydrogen circles, water circles, whatever the things. So in the world, so there's equilibrium. So all the circles should be maintained in the same way or the constant way. Otherwise, there will be an imbalance in the environment which can cause either climate change or the pollution or biodiversity loss.
So in a nutshell, what you said was it's all interconnected. Am I correct?
Yes.
And you also mentioned that the main, the main culprits were people, humans, and also maybe factories. Would you be able to give us just perhaps one example of each of how it is like contaminated?
Yes. I will give some statistics.
Right.
So just say for the garbage disposal, that was a most visible issue in Sri Lanka. We have so many open dump sites and we have so many garbage all over the roads and everywhere, even water bodies, whatever the things. So assume the figures are, we are disposing around 900 tons of polythene and plastic per day.
Right.
And we know the collection mechanism is, the official mechanism is with the municipal councils, right? All the municipal councils, 340 numbers, we could collect only 300 to 350 metric tons. And the recyclable amount is 10 to 15% of that collection. So just think, so how irresponsible we are to the environment, right? More than 50% of our garbage we cannot collect in our official mechanism. Or unofficial mechanism. That is because of our behavior. So we throw garbage here and there. We don't want to dispose most of the thing in the correct places with the proper segregation. Right? That people think it is their job for the municipal council to go search a garbage and collect it. No. Actually, no. They are doing a pretty good job in Sri Lanka. Otherwise, if they didn't work for 1 or 2 weeks, we can't enter to Colombo city.
That's right.
Right. So, how responsible we are? Not only myself, maybe yourself, or our children. So we have to come up with a solution with our next generation, especially with our school children. So to segregate our waste and to get the proper disposal. Just if we cannot collect more than 50% of our garbage, just think it will end up with somewhere open dumping areas.
That's right.
Right. That's one example I can give you with the general public and with the industries. Actually, that is where the Central Environment Authority plays the major role. Right. So we all know in 1977 we got the open economy. As a result, we got so many industries in the country. So because of that industries, in 1980, we have started the National Environment Law Act in Sri Lanka. Right. Anyway, we have several tools for managing the industrial air pollution, land pollution and effluents. But still some industries are playing with those tolerance limit, because tolerance limit never ever tell you that this won't pollute the industry, right? We are giving a tolerance limit just to manage the industry as well as the environment. So we have, before we start an industry, we have most common approval, that is we call environmental impact assessment for several prescribed activities. That is the major tool we are having before we start the industry. And then after we start the industry, we are using with the environmental protection license. So we have A, B, C, D categories based on the pollution loads. And based on that, we are giving annual license or license for 3 years for the renewal period. And I should say, now CA is, earlier we just had the inspection and we issued the license, but now we have a flying squad, right? We are looking for the industries, because I know some industries, not all, But very few industries, they want to play with the authorities. I should say, if you play with the authorities, you are not playing with the authorities, you are playing with your own sons or daughters. Therefore, don't play with the authorities. We are playing with the environment, with the mother nature.
That's right. So they have stipulated ways and means of disposing of their waste, isn't it, in the right way, and they've got to make sure that it is done instead of, as we say, like window polishing, and just to make sure that their license can be renewed, isn't it?
Yes, because that is our actually, as humans, what we differ from the other species in the world is we have a brain.
That's right.
Right. So if we can use that brain for the protecting the nature, that will be great rather than cheating to the nature. Because
right.
If you cheat to the nature, definitely you are cheating for your next generation. That's the problem we are facing at the moment.
That's right. Yes, we're ultimately kidding ourselves.
Yes.
All right. And what are the main environmental the ways that individuals can contribute to protect and conserve the environment?
There are so many ways. I'll give some 2-3 examples. Right. So we all know, even the school children now know there's a principle called 3R. Reduce, reuse and recycle. So we prefer to do recycle. But before recycle, we have 2 options. Reduce and reuse. For example, if you can use 1 polythene bag 2 times, that means the polythene production will reduce by 50%.
Right.
That's quite a big number. With a very simple action of using the same bag twice, we can reduce the production 50%.
Yes.
So that is a one good example what we can do. So reduce is the best thing which we can do. So for the if we are in a very big we are in the so many so-called urbanized living pattern, right? Urbanization kills us actually. It kills the environment. But with this busy life schedule, we are using so many polythene plastic for our day-to-day activities. But just think how many polythene bags we are using per day. So as authority now we are trying to ban those polythenes, but banning or the legal improvements or the legal barriers can't come up with 100% good solutions. It should be our practice. It should be our attitude. So I should say, if you reduce using 1 polythene bag by twice, then the reduction of the polythene production is 50%. That's one example. And if you can reduce your plastic usage, just think, so there are so many research all over the world. Now, even all the food chains contaminated with the microplastics.
Yes.
Right. So we did recently a research with the Central Environment Authority and the Sabaragamu University. It shows even after 3 months, our kids' water bottle still produce microplastics. So the world famous saying is, for a 1 week, we are eating microplastic, the quantity is like your ATM card.
Right.
Right. So reduce your plastic usage. That will be good for your health as well as for the environment. So that is a major thing I should urge from you actually. So reduction of the polythene and plastic. Either we have 3 components, right? We are importing raw materials for the plastics and polythene to the country. We do production and we do dispose. Right? So if we can reduce the consumption, that means our importation will reduce and our disposals will be reduced in future. So those are the 3 things. And we have so many voluntary programs which comes with the awareness, and even with they are doing several beach cleanup, they are doing several waterway cleanup. Actually, those waste come with our activities, right? If you, there's a very famous saying I'm saying always, if you put a water bottle in Adam's Peak, it will come up to the goal phase within 2-3 weeks.
Yes, because I saw a newspaper article recently, and I'm sure you're aware of it too, that I think at the end of the Sripada season, they'd done cleaning of the area, and there had been, I think, millions of tons of plastic, isn't it?
Actually, and I should say, the collection percentage is less than 30.
Right.
So we are talking about more than 2-3 millions of kilos of plastics, but still I should say that the collection amount is less than 30%. So still the same, like I explained earlier, more than 50% we are throwing here and there. We saw several garbage bins, there are several garbage collection areas throughout your path to Adams Peak, but still we throw our plastics to the forest, and for some areas where the volunteers even cannot collect those things.
That's right. Irresponsible disposal.
Actually.
And you also mentioned the third R of recycling.
Yes.
How good is the recycling thing here?
As a industry,
Right.
recycling industries at the moment facing a very big trouble because they are running with undercapacities. Because we have so many garbage, but the collection mechanism is not good, as I explained. So they are running with the shortage of several raw material for the recycling industries. And for example, now we have imposed a regulation to get all the plastic water bottles as clear bottles. Earlier it is somewhat, they are using brown color, some are using green color.
Yes.
But those colored bottles cannot be recycled.
All right.
That's why we imposed to go for a clear water bottle, and in future we are going for other products also. We know several branded products coming with green or brown color, and actually that is for marketing. No, not for any other things. That is coming with the marketing.
Yeah, so if I may interrupt you there when you mentioned the colors. So like for instance, a bottle of Sprite or a bottle of ginger beer is green and brown, say, respectively. So in case I dispose of one of those in the garbage bin, of course, what would be the end result of that? Where would that end up? And will that be an element of environmental pollution, or will it be disposed ultimately at the end of its journey in the proper way? Is there a capacity for that?
We are actually countries having the capacity for around 20% of your disposal only.
Right. Even the colors.
Even the colors.
Right.
Because we have so many recycle industries. They use those waste as their raw material. Then they produce several raw material for our garment and even for our day-to-day activities. But the thing is, what I want to tell, very recently we had an international discussion. And they highlighted, even the UN highlighted that the recycled plastics will be a huge problem in future, because the virgin plastic, we know the composition, we know the chemicals, we know the coolant, everything we know. But when it comes with the recycle, the small scale recycles, they do recycling.
Right.
All the brands. As a mixture. So ultimately the end product may contain so many chemicals which we cannot predict actually.
Right.
So that will be a problem in the future. So the recycling won't be the ultimate solution for the world. And I should say the world, or even Sri Lanka, we are also learning and teaching regarding the plastic, because the life cycle of the plastic is around 500. So still we produce plastic just less than 100 years ago. Yes. So still we are also doing so many research. We do so many predictions with the laboratory scales. That is how we say that the plastic in your hand, it will decay with a 400 years or a 500 years, lunch eat this much. But still with the environmental conditions or the soil conditions or the atmospheric conditions can delay or increase. Therefore we are also in a learning cycle. So I should say the first thing is to reduce rather than going for recycling. Recycling should be there for for the plastics and polythene, which should use in the medical industry or whatever the essential industries. We can do the recycling for those industries. But for the country, what we need is to reduce our plastic footprint.
That's right.
Right.
Right. So we are in conversation with Mr. Supun Pathirage, the chairman of the Central Environmental Authority, on our environment and the pollutants. And this is Coffee Hour. So while you are listener, perhaps enjoying your cup of coffee in the comfort of your home, and with us in the studio is Mr. Supun Pathirage. Well, coming back to what we were discussing, what role does the government play in promoting environmental sustainability? I think that's very pertinent because in any event we also need the government's support. So could you enlighten us on that, please?
Yeah, actually the government at the moment, we are in a challenging situation because, as I explained, the government imposed several laws. The National Environment Act started in 1980. We had several revisions in 1988 and 2003. And now we are in a major revision for the National Environment Act. It will come up less than 1 month time, I hope. But so our HE, the president, once had a discussion with all the environmental experts in the institutes as well as the president's secretariat just 1 week ago. And he's really keen about the environment and the climate change and where we can get green financing and the things. So at the moment he instruct us to go for 3 new acts for the country. So it will come up within the next 6 or 7 months, or hopefully even less than 1 year time. So we have to go for a new environment act considering existing act as well as the acts came up with the so-called developed countries. So the new environmental act will be launched within 1 year time, and there are 2 acts which is scheduled to launch, that is Act of Climate Change and the Living Entities Act. So those acts will come into the play within 1 year time, and until then we are going for the revision of the existing environmental act for the country, which will help us to get so many raids, even so many illegal activities, especially with the environmental police. Now we are doing a great job. I want to thank for the police because they came up with the Central Environment Authority. They joined hands with us. And they are doing a great job. And I want to say, as the Central Environment Authority, we have to ban several items throughout the history. Even the 2017 we have banned for polythene less than 20 microns.
Yes.
And lunch sheets and the polythene bags. But when it comes to 2021, we have to ban the sachets which we used, which was a very popular brand, because we used it, we throw it away.
That's right.
We never collect back. But I am proudly telling you now, after 2 years, now we don't see any sachets in our waterways. Right? And then we have to ban plastic cotton buds. Right, so we are not thinking much, but you can see that almost every house we are using cotton buds, right?
Yes, everybody is going to say, ouch.
Yes, but there are so many wooden cotton buds.
Yes.
Right. Now only for the medical industry we are allowing for the plastic cotton buds. And several inflation toys, I should say now. Just 2 years ago, there are so many inflation toys all over the roads for selling, but now we are not allowing them to import. So there are some existing lot in the country. They do sales, but we are not allowing import. And in 2023, I was planned to ban it for the National Environment Day, but actually because of the small delay with the legal entities, which we have to, which will drag for another 2 weeks time. Now we are going to ban several single-use items. I should say, in 2021 and 2023, we banned all single-use items because our disposal, more than 50% of our polythene disposal is single-use items. So we are going to ban all the straws, plastic straws, and plastic cutleries with the plastic cups and plates and garlands.
Right.
And there are several plastic string hopper cages, I should say. We use the natural ones for production of string hoppers, but now with the time it came up with the plastic, and we do heat all the plastics and we eat till the string hoppers so many microplastics.
That's right.
For our diet. So we have to ban those things, and already the cabinet approval was taken, and we are in the we are maintaining the regulation. We already drafted the regulation, but it's in the approval process. So hopefully within 1 or 2 weeks time it will come to play, and we are giving all the wholesale sellers or the retails, we are giving 1 or 2 weeks time, because we announced it way back on February, and now we are passing almost 4 months, and we told them not to import those things, not to produce those things. Right now we are in the banning process, so we'll give small time, and then we have to do raiding, because as the authority, as the government, we have to impose the law.
That's right.
Right, for the last 2 weeks time, we have to do raid for the 12 plastic production companies, and found out that 4 companies are with the non-compliance items. So that's the tragedy of the industry. And we did more than 1,600 raids all over the country for the last first 4 months of the calendar year. And I want to tell you, so now we want to speed up the things, especially with the sachets and with the new items. And I want to thanks to the customs, because as Central Environment Authority trying to reduce the plastic importation to the country,
right,
and Sri Lankan customs join hand with us. And before June 5th, anybody can import plastics and polythene raw material to the country, but now you have to get a no objection from the Central Environment Authority. So for the clearance of your goods, to get the no objection letter, first time we'll give you the no objection letter, but for the second consignment, you have to give us a material balance where you sold those items in the country, because now we don't have a database for the material balance. So as a regulatory body, now we are going to establish that database, and within 6 months time we can get decisions whether the existing plastic stock is sufficient for the country, or what should be the rate of importation. And this is how the government plays major roles in the importation or the production or the disposal. But I should say it is, rather than government, it is you and me.
Absolutely. The government can only bring in the controls, but it is in our hands to make sure that we implement and enforce them on ourselves, because otherwise the rules that are brought in will go waste, isn't it? Right. And what are the key areas where innovation and technology can contribute to environmental protection and sustainability?
I should say there are plenty of ways. Even, for example, we use yogurt spoons.
That's right.
We banned it in with this February cabinet approval. Right. I should say now there are so many inventors in Sri Lanka. They have patents for the new designs.
Right. Without
plastics. Right. Earlier we just used some hard paper, but now they have designed spoons. So there are plenty of areas where you can work. So as I explained, so the collection is less than 50% of the waste, and the recycling percentage is less than 20% of the collection. So you can see still there are so many gaps where the industry can come up with the solutions. And as a country, now we are facing a very big trouble with the disposal of hazardous waste, because we used one cement kiln in the country, but now with the collapsation of in the construction industry, the cement production is getting reduced. So we are, as an authority, we are having a big problem with the disposal of hazardous waste. But anyway, thanks to I want to say, because of this economy, the production is also less for the plastic and hazardous waste. So now we are in a somewhat equilibrium, but we want to add some hazardous waste disposal facilities to the country. So if you have any innovations based on that, it's welcome.
You just mentioned that there were individuals or perhaps entities who had innovated, you mentioned the yogurt spoons. Now, what is the status quo? Have they been patented? Is there encouragement, and will it take off the ground and come into practical usage, and how long will it take?
No, already they have taken the patents for their designs. Right. I know there are 2 patent designs in the Sri Lankan context. And as the Environment Ministry or the Central Environment Authority, what we do is we get them a good popularity, or we introduce them to the main consumers like the supermarket chains or the whatever thing, we introduce them. So whatever the environment friendly products, then if we get the proper demand, they can produce whatever the country wants. So actually the environmental ministry played a vital role in that part. So when we go for any banning, the alternative products, environmental friendly alternative products, which is giving so many popularity, or the so many demands which come with the demand. So we will introduce them to the users or the supermarkets or whatever the things. And finally, what we want to do is a user-friendly environmental product.
So basically there is not much of red tape or bureaucracy for that, but it will flow and fast forward soon, correct?
Yes, actually, because I should say, if you come up with any innovation to the Central Environment Authority or the ministry, you are mostly welcome. Right, even for any other products, because we are not banning product with a haphazard way. We have a list, actually. As a country, we have a list, and with that list, if we can get proper alternatives for the country, or affordable alternatives to the country, then only we are going to ban those things. So if you can come up with a good solution for any existing plastic or polythene product, any innovation, you are welcome, and we'll take it as a positive feedback and we'll consider it in future.
All right, finally, in conclusion, would you be able to tell us briefly what some of the successful examples of ecosystem restoration projects are in Sri Lanka?
Yeah. Actually, that come up with not only with the Central Environment Authority. So that's why I told the President want the Living Entities Act. That is, if you go for a Knuckles Range or the Horton Plains, Adams Peak, those are called living entities. Actually, those entities give birth to us, actually, because throughout the season they retain water and they release water and they do the purification, they do oxygen, carbon dioxide exchange. So those are the living entities. So at the moment we are with the legal limits, we are empowered the environment police to protect those living entities, actually, especially the water bodies, with their rules and regulations, right? And I should say now they will, in future, they will give a weekly report to the media about their performance, right? And when it comes to the Central Environment Authority, we have 10 protected areas, which we think that out of 10, 6 numbers are in the waterways. Actually, I should say, or either grassland or the wetland habitat, right? So even the Talangama, it's a protected area, very close to Colombo, right? We are in a Ramsar city, but we have so very less number of, could say there's ecosystems which could protect from the urbanization. Right, Talangama we have Kandy, we have several protected areas, as well as Hatkindavarat and Bolgoda. Right. We are facing a big challenge in the Bolgoda because tourism is there, encroachments are there, but still that's the best living entities in the Morotua, Panadura and Kasbah area. Absolutely. So we have to protect that one. So we are having several committees or the legal entities with the villages actually, only the authority can't do those things, right? We need the support from the villages, and we need support from the municipal councils and so many governmental authorities. So we are in a discussion every month. We are having a progress meetings with them, and those ecosystems are protected actually. And then the almost 30% we have a forest coverage in the country.
Right. It has been a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Pathirage, and well, along with our producer, Mrs. Indira Navagamua, may I thank you for starting your day with us and giving us meaningful insight about coexistence between the environment and ourselves. And let me also take this opportunity to wish you a lovely Tuesday ahead, despite the weather.
Right. Thank you very much.
Well, we were in conversation with Mr. Supun, chairman of the Central Environmental Authority, on Coffee Hour.
The Coffee Hour. Welcome to Coffee with our morning host. We broadcast a host of programs like current topics, newspaper headlines, and music on Radio Sri Lanka. Tune in every weekday from 7 to 8 a.m.